Hello, it's Stuart speaking. Thank you for tuning in. So we've got another call. I've got this one from 19th of November 2023. And we've got Chloe calling in with quite an interesting idea. Is it possible to be inspired by theistic writing while accepting that there may be no God, or that it might not matter if there is a God or not? So we can be inspired by writers, characters who never existed, in Shakespeare, for example, Tolstoy, poetry, etc. There can be, we can have fictional characters, fictional scenarios, etc. We can write down quotations that we find inspiring, and they can help us in a very sort of subjective sense. And well, why not religion? Why not embrace theistic ideals while accepting that there may in fact be no God, or even accepting that there is no God? Does it really matter if the God is real or not? So yeah, so let's go into Chloe's call now. Somebody who embraces theistic ideals and theistic writing while accepting that there may not in fact be a God. So let's go.
Quite frankly, comfortably nerdy in a very spiritual way, where it does not matter if this God is true, these words still inspire me. And that's where I'm currently at. And I'm kind of wondering if I can get the Dillahunty special, get me to work over my thinking, because I just want to make sure that I'm on the right path here.
Yeah, just briefly, Chloe, I didn't play the introduction. Chloe's already said that she was on before as a theist, and that Matt spoke to her and she went away and deconstructed. So that's the position.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
Yeah, because I think you're going to have much more to say than I do on this one. So I was going to say, before you get the Dillahunty special, you can have the Jimmy appetizer. And the Jimmy appetizer is atheism and theism is not a consideration of what you think inspires you. It is a consideration of whether you believe something is true or not. So when you are describing to us that you feel very inspired by X, Y, or Z, lots of people feel very inspired by X, Y, or Z. Arguably, a person who's been a very famous, but I've literally never liked, which is why you've probably never heard me mention the person before, but a person who's arguably a very famous atheist in the past recently decided to become a Christian and with this sort of like, because Christianity, it's so inspiring, and I find it so, it doesn't actually list anything that sounds like a belief, just I have to get with them to fight Islam and wokeism at the same time. They're equal. Those are equal threats. Very stupid reasoning. I'm not saying your reasoning is stupid, but what inspires you does not affect whether or not you find something true or not. So I can be very inspired by, as I am, by the Lord of the Rings. I can learn lessons, as I do, from Lord of the Rings. I can.
Okay, yeah. So Jimmy just spent 3 minutes saying that they're not concerned with whether theistic writings inspire. What they're concerned with is whether theism is true, whether there is actually a God. So we're going to skip that and pick up the reply.
Well, yeah, and maybe you can, Chloe,
Yes.
Right there with Jimmy, same question. I just want to add in thing. I don't understand what you mean when you say you have more faith. I don't understand what you mean by the word spiritual. So I'm not completely sure I understand what you're talking about.
Yeah, so more faith means that I feel, so whatever it is, so when you deal with faith, when you live with it, it asks you to do something, and asks you to either pray, do this, do that, whatever
I'm not understanding.
So if
faith is the excuse people give for believing something when they don't have a good reason. Faith doesn't ask anything.
So you have no faith in anything.
I have no faith in anything, correct. But faith is the excuse people give when they believe something without a good reason. Because if you have a good reason, somebody says, why do you believe it? You give the good reason. You don't ever make an appeal to faith. But I don't know what you mean by faith asks you to pray. maybe you mean it in a different context where you're talking about your faith, as in your religion,
faith.
where faith. Sorry, what?
Theistic faith.
Well, theistic. No. Are you using the word faith as a substitute for religion, or are you using the word faith as a substitute for foundation for belief?
Foundation for belief.
I don't really get why he's appealing to faith if he's already said that kind of doesn't really matter whether it's true or not. Okay.
Your foundation for belief doesn't ask anything of you. No foundation for a belief can ask you to pray or expect you to pray. It has no expectations. It's a tool.
I mean, if he's appealing to faith, then clearly, to some kind of extent, it does matter to him whether it's really true or not. Otherwise, why appeal to faith?
For me, it's a feeling.
Okay, well, I don't know how to deal with your esoteric concepts. You're going to have to describe them better so I know what the hell you're talking about.
So you've previously, so I know of your history. So you've previously been in ministry, correct? I just want to make sure I have my memory correct, because there's a lot of atheists, and I'm trying to make sure I've got.
I walked down the aisle at a Baptist church at around the age of 5 and accepted Jesus into my heart, was active.
Now, this is somebody who's called in previously, said that she spoke to Matt, and Matt sent her on the road to deconstruction. Not even sure what she means by that, because it's clearly not deconversion if she's hanging on to some variety of theism.
In the church all the way up into my teens. Then I left and joined the Navy. At some point, I decided that God had called me to be a minister. I was studying to become a minister. I never actually went into seminary. I never actually went into ministry. I found my way out, and now I'm an atheist.
Okay. Just want to make sure I have your story straight.
What my story is irrelevant to what you're describing.
Well, I mean, what I want to know is what kind of spiritual experiences have you had?
I don't know what the word spiritual means, as I've said probably 5,000 times, but what I think or what I know, or even whether or not I'm being honest in conversation with you right now, is irrelevant to you describing what you mean, because we're trying to get to what you mean. What I experienced is completely irrelevant.
I think that this is just a diversion now that Chloe's come on, realizes that she's in a mess with the discussion and really doesn't know where to go, and she's just plucked something out of her head. Let's try and relate to Matt from when he was a Christian and find out what kind of experiences he had, and we'll try and divert the conversation somewhere else, because it's not really gone where she expected it to go.
I don't know what you mean by the word spiritual. I don't know what you mean by the word faith. Nothing that I would have ever described as faith asked me for anything.
I think, Chloe, to sort of the question that you just asked, I think the closest to an answer that would make sense, because your question doesn't, is there were things that we mistook for spiritual experiences and our...
Well, wait a minute. There's a problem there, because it hasn't been established, as Matt actually rightly pointed out. Matt doesn't know what spiritual is. Jimmy is now using the word spiritual. We mistook these experiences for spiritual experiences. I presume that Jimmy therefore knows what the word spiritual means, because I don't know. And when I ask Christians, when I ask religious people, woo merchants or whatever, what do you mean by spiritual? They stumble and they can never really say.
Probably similar to the things that I suspect you are mistaking for, but I don't know what you think you've had as far as spiritual experiences go. However, that would make sense to me.
So a spiritual experience for me would be any experience that, you're going to get upset with me again because I'm going to say another word that's going to need definition. Transcendent.
So why don't you define it, or not use a word that is basically just as gobbledygooky as the word before?
Because it's experiential.
That's not an answer to my question.
That doesn't tell me anything else. I've had experiences that I would call transcendent in a number of different contexts. That's it. You know, none of that makes any sense to what you're describing as spiritual.
So you don't think that the
Correct.
okay. I'm just not even going to go there. I'm not going to try to bring up cosmic
Yes,
aesthetics
because as I fucking said now, what I think or what I feel is irrelevant. Are you going to describe what you're talking about in a way we can discuss it, or are we going to move on?
I was hoping that I was hoping that you would have some sort of base experience that I could possibly build on. And
I was hoping that you would have a way to communicate in a way that someone could understand what you were saying so that we could talk about it.
What kind of base experience is he talking about? Matt is now an atheist. He's now said that all the experiences which he had as a Christian, he wouldn't be able to say exactly what they were or explain them. But he's also said that he's had similar experiences when listening to music, engaging in various other activities, etc., etc. So what kind of base experience could this caller possibly be appealing to that he could build on, and that they could have some kind of discussion? Because Matt has now written all that off.
But you seem unwilling to do that.
You know what? I realize why I don't call into these call-in shows too often.
Oh yeah, he doesn't call into the call-in shows because they ask very challenging questions. And if you're going to use words like spiritual and transcendent, you will have to define these words in order that there can be a discussion. And if you can't define them, then the call will have to end.
Hey, shut up.
You know,
Are you gonna
have a good day.
Yeah, great. Go whine somewhere else.
I'm just gonna give up.
Yeah, go ahead and give up.
I'm going to give up.
Literally, like you were the.
I like that though. I like the way he finished that. I'm going to give up. At least he was honest. Might as well give up. Give up on religion too.
Problem. I went ahead and took care of making before more whining was going to happen. You were the problem. You called in and you said, "I'm very familiar with your past, Matt." And then we're
okay. Yeah, sorry. I'm going to stop there. So yeah, so Matt was a Christian, and people have come on to him and said, "Oh, Matt, you never had any experiences with the risen Jesus." And Matt says, "Well, of course, correct." And they say, "Well, Matt, you never really had any real spiritual experiences." And Matt will say, "What's a spiritual experience? It's something that's transcendent." What is something that's transcendent? So there is absolutely nothing there to build on, but I can understand why the caller went there, because from a very early stage, the call got derailed and there had to be somewhere to go. It didn't go anywhere fruitful in the end. And the caller had to give up because the words that are being used are so esoteric and really literally meaningless that they're of no use to anybody. So I'm still hoping that somebody is going to call in one day and really adequately define what spiritual is, such that a proper conversation can take place. Until then, I suppose we'll have to wait. But thank you very much for tuning into this clip, this commentary and reaction clip. And I'll be back again with another video very soon. Bye for now.